Another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how's it going?
Hey Josh, yeah, going really well, thank you. Having a good weekend, having a good FPL weekend as well, which we'll get into. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, not having quite as good FPL weekend as you, but so happy just to have the Prem back.
It's
So
great, isn't
happy.
it? It's great, isn't it? Yeah, that international break felt like a long one. Felt like a
So long.
long slog of one. The weeks just felt long. The international games were boring. It was just dull. And then all that speculation last week about which players were fit. We're tracking flights. There's fake COVID results coming out. It was chaos, but not in a good way.
Stressful.
It was like occupying my brain, but not in a good way. Yeah, it wasn't nice.
Fake news everywhere. Gotta hate it. Gotta hate it.
There we are. But we're over it now, Josh. And here we are, sitting here on a Monday. So disclaimer, the Arsenal Palace game hasn't been played yet. So we are technically mid-game week, but the vast majority of points are in. And I think we've got a feel for how we're getting on, don't we?
Hopefully.
Yeah. So do you want to kick us off, Josh? How is your game week going?
Game week, it's mixed. I'm on a red arrow at the moment for overall rank. I mean, I'm on 54 points when you include the automatic sub for Rafinha coming off. Lovely Sar's coming off the bench for 2 points. Cheers, Sar. But yeah, kind of a mixed bag. Like not the plan of my wild card from last week. It's not quite bringing those returns that I've wanted, but I'm still overall happy with the team. Got confidence in the boys, but yeah, just a lot of kind of the same points as what everyone else is getting. I need those not differentials, but the lower ownership players to really do bits, and so far they're not. That's not helping my rank. But yeah, so people like Antonio, Tony and Lukaku got them up front. Not a lot going on there. 5 points between them. Salah, thank God, Mo returned with the captaincy. Some decent points across the back defensive line for me. Duffy, Livramento, and Cancelo. Diaz coming off the bench. Cheers, Diaz. Pep the bold fraud. But again, a lot of those guys that got points are highly owned, and they're in a lot of people's templates. So yeah, mixed for me. Not terrible, but not great.
Yeah, I'd say you're very unlucky with the Diaz coming on. I mean, no one could have foreseen that. I mean, if he's benched, you hope that a centre back doesn't get subbed on. That's very strange. Very, very, very unlucky. Although you would have suppose you'd have just had Douglas Luiz coming on for the 3 points. So not like a massive game changer in the end for you, I suppose.
I would have taken that +2 net on that, please.
Yeah, of course you would have. Of course you would have. And the front, I think you've got the best front three still: Tony, Antonio, Lukaku. It's where I'm trying to steer my team towards, and you're just very unlucky again with blanks for all of them. Tony, I mean, you and I watched that Brentford game against Chelsea. Tony and Mbeumo could have easily got a haul there, couldn't they?
Beautiful Brentford. Yeah. I mean, I'm not concerned about Tony long term.
No.
Or Antonio, again, he's not had that blistering form early on, but he had a couple of chances. West Ham looked like a good team. So again, not worried about them long term, but just disappointed in them this week.
Yeah, you're not angry, you're disappointed, aren't you?
Exactly.
This week? That parent, that's what you are this week. Well, yeah, we'll come on to Antonio and Lukaku later, specifically in some of the talking points. But
cheer me up, Jack. How did you do? How are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked. Jossie. No, a very good week for me this week, I must say. Big at the back. So I wasn't hopeful for this week, Josh. I played a 5-3-2 due to things like Rafinha's injury and not wanting to take a hit. So I made one transfer. And it's actually not gone well for me, the transfer. Adama Traore, the thorn in my side, has finally left me. In for Mbeumo, who was hitting the post quite a lot this week. And Traore, of course, gets a start and gets an assist against my very own Villa, which, yes, stuck the knife in a bit. But it goes to show that transfers aren't everything, are they? So I've made a -3 transfer, but I'm sitting on 67 points for the week so far. In fact, no, that's it. I'm all out. I say so far. I haven't got any players playing tonight, so it will be 67. But very pleased. The 5 at the back all return me points, which is a rare sight, but a beautiful sight. So Trent with 6, Duffy 5, Livramento 6, Cody with his goal with 7, and Reguilon yesterday with the cheeky assist, despite conceding 2 for the 4-pointer. Sanchez in goal. So that combined with the Salah captaincy meant that it didn't matter that the Lukaku's and Antonio's blanked, and Dennis coming on for Jota with another blank as well. But yeah, big at the back has saved me this week. And I say big at the back, it's budget at the back, really. I mean, only Reguilon and Trent are over 5 mil with who I've got. Yeah, really, really pleased.
Defensive masterclass. I like it.
Lucky, very lucky, I would say. I mean, Brighton should have conceded with his name escapes me now, but that guy he had an open goal and he sort of just tapped it in and it allowed Dunk to sweep up. But yeah, a bit of luck. Obviously, a Cody goal and a regular assist, despite conceding, is always, when a defender gets an attack in return, it is a bit lucky, really.
This game is built on luck, Jack.
It is, Josh.
Take it when it
I'll take
swings
it
your way.
I will take
Cash
it
in.
for sure. And as you said, Salah's captaincy, that no-brainer, really felt good. Even when everyone else has it, or a lot of people have him captained, you don't care when he hauls, do you really? It still feels great. It still feels good. I mean, so many times I've tried to pick the differential captain, sort of thinking that if I captain the obvious one, I won't feel good if they score. But when they do score, you still feel great. So forget it. Just pick them.
And it's just good to see him play that well as well. I think when you pick someone like Salah, it's nice to see those points rolling in, but it is just a joy to watch as well. He's just incredible at the moment.
People are talking about best player in the world material, and I think I agree, really.
Yeah,
as a man with no chip in the race, apart from Jack Grealish, second best player in the world, he is the man, isn't he? Don't think you can argue.
There you go, heard it here.
There you go. That's with my limited exposure and knowledge of other leagues. But there we are. So
good. So one mixed game week for me, one great game week from you. Overall, not too bad.
I think you're being harsh on yourself, Josh, just there. I mean, 54 points with, you've still got Ramsdale to play, is it?
Please God, clean sheet for
Arsenal. I mean, you're ending on 60 points. It's above average, I would say. I'm surprised you're on a red arrow with 54 as well, actually.
Yeah, all these Vardy owners now.
What is the average? What's the average saying this week? 43. I mean, I think you'll be all right.
Ramsdale clean sheet. That will give me a little green arrow, I think.
Could happen.
Please, come on, Arsenal. Never thought.
Yeah, could happen. You never know with this Palace side, do you? So we'll see.
Yeah, they're tough. But anyway, let's stop looking at the past. Let's look at the future. We're going to look at the XG and XA tables again for the last 3 games. Should we start by looking at the XG, the top 5 from the last 3 games? Do you want to kick us off in the 5th slot, Jack? There's a very Evertonian looking player there.
Yeah, sure thing. So Andros Townsend is coming in with 1.63. So this is the past 3 weeks now, isn't it? So we've narrowed it down again to the last 3 weeks worth of XG, just so we can really pinpoint these players that are on red hot form. So yeah, Andros Townsend for Everton. A bad game for them this week. No returns for those toffee mids, which I was quite pleased to see because they've been a bit of a thorn in my side, Townsend, Gray and Doucouré. So a tough game for them. Quite an even game it looked like against West Ham. What do you make of Townsend?
Yeah, definitely worth looking at. I mean, what really struck me about that West Ham game is West Ham were all over him at the beginning. Like it was incredibly one way, but they just were not creating clear-cut chances. But when Everton broke, and especially through either Gray's direct running or building through play and getting Townsend the ball on that right-hand side, when he cuts in, my God, does he look a threat every time on that left foot. And even once he kind of dummied, put it on his right and put in a hell of a cross as well. Like the ball's into the box. Rondon probably should have got a goal with the balls that were coming in. But when DCL comes back,
I
mean, he is just the backup for DCL, isn't he? And
yeah, but he's not good enough, is he? He's not good enough to be a backup for a championship team. He's been an awful signing.
Yeah,
I mean, backup.
Yeah, he looks like a player that should be getting 90 minutes, definitely.
No doubt.
But when DCL, comes in, or when against teams where they're maybe going to have a lot more ball, like he does look a threat. I was quite shocked actually to see how good the final ball was from him consistently. So yeah, for his price point, I think he is one to look at. Fixtures wise, kind of mixed. Watford, Wolves, Spurs, City, then Brentford for Everton coming up.
Decent,
but at his price point again, it's worth a look at, and he's showing with his XG. It's not just the crosses. It's he's getting into attacking areas and popping off shots as well. So, what do you think? Are you interested in him?
I'm not really. He looks happy, doesn't he? When you watch him, he looks really like positive. Looks like he's enjoying his football in that kind of frame, Townsend. And he's always been kind of hot and cold and has done great things for Palace at times, hasn't he? Even when he was at Spurs, he got into the England team and he was doing well. But yeah, I don't know what it is about Everton. I'm just not enamored with them without the Richarlison and DCL factor in there. It doesn't surprise me that they're struggling to score and struggling to convert the chances that the Greys and Townsends are creating, and they're relying on those guys to chip in with goals. And fair play to them, they're doing well, but they're not firing all cylinders. So I think with the other mids available, Townsend for me is a no. It's a no from me. Don't buy him. I wouldn't advise anyone to buy him. I think there are better options despite the bargain price.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel like he's got a shelf life, and we're in the prime of that shelf life now. I don't think it's going to help him when those other big boys come back, because I think a lot of the attacking creative play will go through them instead. And although you can say they're on the end to finish, I just think he'll get less of the ball, be like less of maybe the talisman that he currently is by default.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That sums him up.
So a no. Oh, yeah, let's move away from Townsend, but
Yeah.
a no. Shocking.
It's a no. Yeah. Who's next, Josh? Who's in the fourth for XG?
Mohamed Salah. I'm surprised he's not higher, actually, considering his returns so far, 1.72. But I mean, there's nothing to say, but he should already be in your team and almost set and forget captain at the moment.
Yeah, we said it last week. Yeah, I think with these, because we've narrowed it down to 3 weeks of data, you won't. It's more likely someone like Salah will be a bit further down, because someone who, well, certainly one of these players who's in second spot, just one game of those three, like a red hot game, could really fire them up the ranks, couldn't it? When it's just 3 games. So yeah, but no surprise to see Salah in here. Scored again, maybe a better goal than he scored against City somehow, similar but better. I thought, like the ridiculous little sort of almost showboating drag back with his foot. I don't even know what you call that. A kind of like fake back heel push forward. Don't know, but ridiculous. He just makes defenders look embarrassed, doesn't he?
Yeah, they must be having nightmares before and after playing him. Crazy.
Yeah, I think just put the captaincy on him regardless of fixture now. And I don't think there are many hard fixtures for him apart from Man City and Chelsea, and he's already torn up City. So Man United next week, we'll come on to it, but that's not a hard fixture. Sorry, it's not difficult. It's not hard. Villa can win at Old Trafford. Liverpool haven't looked this good for a long time as well. This is them in their red hot form, and Man United are rubbish defensively. So
yeah, and him individually, probably some of the best football I've ever seen him play.
yeah,
So
it's phenomenal. Really, yeah.
Ride that form, boys. FPL managers.
Yeah, on it. Yeah, I know a few guys who just haven't bought him in still, and they're suffering from that. It was like their weird mentality at the start of the season of like, right, I'm not going to go Salah. I'm going to invest elsewhere and be differential. On the weeks that he blanks, I'll rock it up. But the fact is, most weeks he's going to haul. So overall, you're going to be down. If you're in that mindset now, just bite the bullet, admit you were wrong, and get him. Just admit you're wrong. No shame in it. No shame in it. Be malleable. Be like water. Change, and buy him and captain him, and you'll thank yourself.
Good. Yeah, that was very spiritual. I like it.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
But move away from Salah. That's a nice simple one. Number 3 spot, Jack. Who's in third for XG?
Yeah, we've got Jamie Vardy himself of 2.01 over the last 3. I think he's great. I'm more and more tempted to get him as the weeks roll on. Spoiler alert, but the XG 11 that we manage, purely dictated by the XG data, sold Lukaku this week and brought Vardy in and was rewarded. So the XG data doesn't lie with these strikers. What do you think of Vardy? Tempted?
I think we've talked about him in recent weeks, and the only thing that's really put us off is his price. But as he continues to return, it starts to swing the other way. And I think,
is he underpriced? Is what I would ask. I mean, he scores goals every year, doesn't
he? He does. I guess it does come back to the fact that Leicester aren't maybe as good as some of the teams of these other premiums we're looking at. So maybe their overall XG. So they're going to be scoring less goals compared to like a Liverpool or Chelsea potentially over the whole course of like 10 games, 20 games, or the whole season. So therefore, he's going to have a smaller slice of that, goals of the team. But I think what we've seen of Vardy recently is that form come through again. So like early season, he wasn't quite getting there, but his XG for, the United game, I was quite shocked to see it was 0.21.
Well, his goal was beautiful, wasn't it? The
Yeah,
slice.
it's incredible. It's like classic Vardy, isn't it? Like,
It's what he can do.
Didn't get any massive clear-cut chances, but puts it away and gets your return.
Yeah.
And
But I
that's
suppose
the fact
he's on this chart shows that he is actually mixing it with the XG as well as the amazing finishing. I think with Leicester, the thing that Vardy sort of overshadows is the fact that Iheanacho started the last 3 games and has returned in all 3 as well. So I've kind of got half an eye on him, even though Vardy's kind of taking the plaudits and we're wondering about Vardy. What do you think of it? I mean, does it make Vardy better, Iheanacho being in, or should we go for Vardy?
I think Vardy's nailed, isn't he? So Iheanacho, yeah, maybe what you're saying is he's proven himself to be good in the past, but he's not really getting the minutes this year for whatever reason. It isn't clear as far as I'm aware why he's not getting minutes. He's just been dropped due to system or preference of players from Brendan Rodgers' perspective. So you're kind of putting yourself in the Pep seat again. Like,
I suppose, yeah.
do you wanna risk minutes for someone who isn't really has had one game week where you think, oh, they've been all right? It's such a small sample size to take such a large risk.
It is. Fair points, Josh. Very reasoned. Very reasoned. I guess the question with Vardy is, do you sell Ronaldo or Lukaku to bring him in, or Antonio to fund him? Is the question, isn't it? Because you've only got limited striker slots, so it's the context of those guys, whether to hold or buy or sell. It's difficult. We'll talk about them later, those two, but a tricky
Vardy
one.
is doing hella good at the moment.
Yeah, it's
That's
tricky.
the bottom
I
line.
don't think you'd regret it. I think it's just that lack of fashion. It's just not fashionable, is it, to get him? But he ticks over with points.
He's having a
Anyway,
party.
yeah, moving on. This guy was also having a party, Josh, in second spot at 2.16. Who have we got?
But it's Bobby Firmino. It is Bobby Firmino.
Got 11. Got 11.
Incredible hat trick. I mean, I love the guy, but I'm not going to be the one to, even as a Liverpool fan, to say you need to get Bobby Firmino, because he just isn't going to be worth it from an FPL perspective. I think he's sharing minutes for Jota. That's one of the biggest things straight off the bat. And he's proven to us that his goal returns will be nowhere near as high as the other maybe attacking assets in the Liverpool front line. So yeah, if you had him this week, my God, that's incredible that you did have him for starters. But this is lightning striking, and it may happen another time or maybe 3 times this whole season. But you're going to be riding him for a lot of probably blank or low scoring game weeks in between.
It's just a Jota thing for me. I mean, he's second in this chart with only 130 minutes played over the last 3 weeks, which is incredible. But it's because he just tore it up, didn't he, on Saturday? Really, he was right place, right time. Great finishing for a change, I would say, like clinical finishing from him. And it's just the Jota thing with him. I think when one of them is injured, so when Jota's injured or Firmino's injured, the other one suddenly becomes a very, very viable option, I think. But when they're both fit, they negate each other, because, I mean, Jota's going to get minutes and Bobby's going to get minutes. Salah and Mane pretty much aren't going anywhere, are they? It's just those two that tend to rotate that spot. So, yeah, I mean, Jota got no minutes for me this week. He's probably going to be my transfer out this week because of this. So,
yeah, but Liverpool have a left Atletico on Tuesday. Bobby's playing well. Would he start in that game, and then Jota may come in at the weekend? But
that's the thing. You don't know, do you? Like, whoever starts that Champions League game, and this goes for any Champions League teams, I think, it doesn't actually give you that much intel about who's going to start the Saturday game. Say Bobby starts, then comes off after 70 mins for Jota. Does that mean Jota's going to start or Bobby's going to start? Like,
we don't know.
It's very hard, isn't it? So yeah, I think that's a a false prophet. Those Champions League lineups. I don't pay any attention to them personally. People have got into a mess with the Chilwell Alonso thing, haven't they? Because of those, and it's just burned. Yeah, it's burned people. So I just think, forget it.
So in this case, you're saying ignore the stats, don't bring Bobby in.
I think so for now. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And to put the nail in that Bobby coffin, his XG for the Watford game was 2.16.
Yeah, so it's a one game thing.
It's a one game.
Maybe we should extend these to 5 games again, because it gives us different place to talk about, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, Watford were a shambles, weren't they, as well? Let's not forget they're in trouble.
Some managers, like FPL managers, will look and say, "Oh, maybe bring Bobby in," but don't. So I think the bottom line is don't bring him in.
Yeah, rivals. I hope my rivals do bring him in, because I don't know. He's not that bad a pick at all. When he starts, he's as likely to score as any of them, I think. But limited minutes and not guaranteed to start would be the nail there. Yeah.
But number 1 spot, Jack. Who's in number 1 for the XG for the last 3 game weeks?
Familiar face, Josh. Mikel Antonio, 2.28. I'm actually surprised he's top here the last 3 weeks, because he hasn't actually done that well, has he? FPL points wise, the last few weeks for us. Yeah, I'm quite surprised to see him here. What do you think?
It does keep us interested in him, doesn't it, really? Because, he was absolutely killing it at the beginning of the season, but the last 3 game weeks from 6, 7 and 8 is 8-point return in game week 6, then a blank, a 2-pointer, now a 1-pointer this week. Cheers, you get the yellow card, Antonio. But I think what this does is it reassures us that he still is, well in the mix of getting those goal scoring chances, and he is definitely the main man in a West Ham team, which is still, they're not purring like they were at the beginning. They're not red hot, but they're still playing really well. So I think it's a definite hold. Most people have got him, but if you were looking to bring him in, you didn't have him, then I'd say those 2 blanks in the last 2 game weeks would start to bring people hesitance, wouldn't they? Like, they'd have to hesitate a little bit about bringing him in, because there are some other options out there as well.
It's tricky, isn't it? That 8.1 price, it's still a very good price for him. And I've said before that when he's fit, he delivers like a premium with a budget price. But yeah, you're right. Would you bring it? That's the good question, isn't it? Would you bring him in over, say, a Vardy, or would you look more at Vardy now? That's a tricky one. I'd probably still say yes. Jump. Yeah, he is a jump. Yeah, and I think Antonio is still a better option than the Danny Ings. Obviously, Bamford, DCL's out. Still better than the Callum Wilson, I think, as well. He's still the best option in that price, isn't he, Antonio?
Yeah, I would agree. And then you're getting into a real top premium option, and they're not really doing it at the moment. So it's probably still one of the hottest strikers on the market in FPL.
Yeah, if you've got him, be patient with him. I think people will start to jerk him out after those 2 weeks, but I think that's probably a mistake.
I would agree. Massive mistake. Hold on to him.
There we go. Antonio. So those are the XG, the red hot XG players done. Moving on to the XA. Josh, who's at number 5?
It's Mohamed Salah again. So just reminding us that not only is he scoring loads of goals, but as we saw with the Mane assist, he's an incredible creator. So bottom line, have him, captain him, done.
Nothing more to add from me there. In at 4th spot, we've got James Milner, who's enjoying a little mini renaissance in Liverpool colours. Should I buy James Milner, Josh?
No, you should not, Jack.
Okay, cancel transfer.
Again, a lot of this is skewed from that Watford game where they just scored a lot of goals, but also created a lot of chances. So we're seeing inflated numbers from Liverpool assets in the last 3 game weeks because of that. Milner's not going to be doing that, game week in and game week out. Like you cannot pick him on the basis of that. I don't think
he might not even play, might he? A lot of games.
Exactly. So yeah, I think I
love him. You gotta love him. You gotta love him.
Yeah, but he'd also hold a very valuable Liverpool spot. So sorry, Jams.
Ignore.
3rd spot though, Jack, is Harry Kane, 1.15. Are you interested in him not only as a creator, because we're looking at his XA, but obviously potentially as his goal scoring as well?
Yeah, I mean, he's always had both, hasn't he, in his locker? So ever since the start of last season, he added creativity to his game under Mourinho. One of the few things Mourinho got credit for was how he improved Kane. And yeah, watching him against Newcastle, he looked good again. He looked good. He's a great ball for Son, and a very tidy finish, really well timed run. I wouldn't say he looked back to his absolute best. Like he didn't terrorize that defense as much as he probably has done in the past. But yeah, it's good to see. I think it's good for the game, good for the FPL game, because it means you've got Ronaldo. You can't have Ronaldo, Kaku, and Kane. So it's another element into the mix. I think I'm still in the wait and see mode with him. I'm not convinced on him yet. Newcastle are still shit, aren't they, despite the takeover? So, and he hasn't looked that great up until then. So it's still wait and see for me. But it's a watch list for sure. What do you think?
I agree entirely. I wouldn't jump on him or Son right now, but
Interesting.
they're starting to put some form together. I think that their value or their price demands a little bit of certainty, I think, isn't it? They cost so much that you want to be reassured that you're going to get something from that. And I think definitely for Kane, maybe less so for Son because he's put it together maybe more so far this season. I want to see Kane have a few games of looking really well and looking good before bringing him in.
Son's Son's tricky though. Son is I'm debating Son at the moment. You had Son in for a while, didn't you? But yeah, I mean Son's actually sixth on the XG for the last 2 weeks, so he just missed out that XG list we did. And I think is he third for overall points for fantasy for midfielders, maybe? He's doing pretty well despite Spurs's. So he's second for midfielders, Son. And that's despite Spurs looking pretty lackluster for a lot of the season so far. He kind of transcends the form of the team, doesn't he, Son? Because he's that good. So when Spurs aren't playing well, he's the one still playing well, like the last bastion. But I know what you mean. I'm not excited about Son yet, whereas I have been before. And Kane, I'm just not feeling them yet. So, but maybe now is the time to get on before everyone. I'll only get excited about them because they've got a haul. So maybe I need to get on them before that comes. I don't know. Tricky.
Yeah,
I don't think Son's a bad buy. I don't think he's a bad buy now.
No, I mean their fixtures aren't great for the next three. So, West Ham away, United at home, actually maybe that is a decent fixture.
Easy.
Everton away, Benitez is
True.
good tactically. So that gives you a few weeks to maybe sit on your hands a little bit with them. But yeah, you're right. Definitely an eye has been turned towards both of them, isn't it?
For sure, man. Moving on. Who's at number 2, Josh?
It's Saint-Maximin. So talking about the takeover, yeah, I mean, again, do you want an amazing player in a shit team?
Yeah, that was our tune in. Go and listen to our pod last week to find the definitive answer to that question more generally. But the answer for ASM is sadly no, I think. Despite him being, I mean, I watched the game last night. He looked brilliant again. He looked brilliant. He just sort of has this dynamism about him where he can go from standing still to super fast in an instant, and he's got the ball control to back it up. Sort of sums him up for me. But when Wilson's in the team, he's more of an attractive an asset because he's got someone who can make the runs and finish the chances. That's kind of on the same wavelength. But I don't trust Wilson to start each week at all. He seems to always potentially pick up an injury, and the rest of Newcastle just aren't good enough to help him out. I wish he was in a better team. I really do. And the fact he's a striker inexplicably again just makes him less interesting, sadly for me. If he was a midfielder, I'd probably have a different opinion. But I think he's one of the most entertaining players to watch in the league, if not the most entertaining, frankly, at the moment. Yeah.
But we're interested in points, cold, hard points.
You don't get flair points, do you? You don't get FPL flair points. So for me, St. Max is a no. Do you? Maybe you look on him more favourably?
I see him in the same bracket as Sarr, where they're great players who have the potential to do amazing things, but because of their teams, I don't want either of them. I think
Yeah.
there's better assets at those price points where you can get more FPL points, better returns. Basically, I just think they're luxury players, and I have Sarr. That's coming from a Sarr owner.
Yeah, he's a
Um,
great, but you've got Sarr because he's an enabler in midfield, isn't he? Whereas
exactly.
he's ASM takes up a valuable striker slot, and he's a bit too much money to be an enabler / bench fodder, isn't he? So
Yeah, begrudgingly a no for ASM.
yeah, we're on the same page there, aren't we?
But the number one spot, Jack, for XA, who have we got there?
Yeah, I feel like this guy's held onto this spot no matter what you set the filter. 1 week, 2 week, 10 weeks, he's always in the number one spot. Ivan Toney, 1.49, a very unique striker, I think, and a very effective one. Watching him, you've still got him, Josh. I wish I had him. You happy with him?
Very happy with him. I mean, I say very happy with him. Obviously, the points. Some weeks you look, you think maybe he could have returned more points than he has, and he passes the eye test in most games. Looks dangerous and really involved in a lot of what Brentford do going forward. And you start thinking, why isn't he had more points than he's got? But I think it's from the perspective of I still am happy with holding him. Like he is performing that well, and Brentford are performing that well that I'm not that bothered by that. In the weeks to come, I'm more than happy to have him in the team. So
Yeah, I would
a
be
happy
too.
hold.
I covet him. I'm coveting him because I think Brentford, they're going to explode at some point. They should have beaten Chelsea, frankly. They should have. The XG said it all. Buemo hitting the post twice, ridiculous saves from Mendy. Tone was instrumental in crafting a lot of those chances. So I think I'm really eyeing the double up between him and with him and Buemo. So yeah, he's a fantastic asset and a great price for what he is.
Yeah, perfect. Big fan of Tony.
Yeah, well done, Tony.
Nice.
Cool.
So that's the XG and XA done. Little break now, Jack, before we go on to the next section.
That sounds nice. Let's do that.
Lovely. All right, we'll see you in a second. And we're back. So next now, Jack, we're moving on to a specific talking point, which has come from your brain, and I like the look of it. Do you want to introduce it?
Straight out of the dome. Yeah, it is. I think it's the one that's on everyone's minds this week, Josh. Ronaldo and Lukaku, the hot properties of this season, the defining icons of this season, the new faces. Most people have at least one of them. Quite a few people have both of them. Currently, they're flattering to deceive, to put it politely. Is our patience wearing thin? Should we get rid of them? Should we hold on to one, ditch the other? Should we stay faithful with both of them? What do you think, Josh?
I'm going to put it in as simple terms as possible. Despite them both blanking the last three,
Sounds bad when you say that, doesn't it?
It
So
sounds
bad.
terrible.
What
And
have
that
we
would give
done?
you more than enough reason to drop either of them or both of them. I don't know who's got both, but most people have one or the other. I wouldn't want Ronaldo going forward until he turned his form around or United turned their form around. Purely down to Lukaku's Chelsea's fixtures, I will be keeping Lukaku. And I think even over someone like Vardy. So I will take a Lukaku and a Tony, because I think money wise it would be quite a lot to have, Lukaku and Vardy. So I'm seeing it as a Lukaku and Tony or a Vardy and Antonio, rather than having Vardy and Lukaku. But just because Chelsea's fixtures, I think they're gonna flatten some teams in the next three. And Tuchel himself said, Lukaku has been too giving with the passes. He needs to be more selfish. I think maybe we're going to see a reflection of that in the Norwich game next week, and he's going to try and shoot a lot more actively. It looks like Tuchel said that in a press conference. He's definitely going to be saying it to him behind closed door and on the training pitch. So I'm expecting returns from Lukaku.
Yeah, it's what you want to hear, isn't it? It's what you want to hear from a coach about a striker who hasn't been firing who you own. So yeah, I broadly agree. Ronaldo, I've never owned him, and I think that's half thinking, kind of recognizing that Man United aren't all that really, and yeah, and Ronaldo, I don't think he's the player he used to be, but it's also half my bias in that I get, because of my upbringing, I get unbridled joy when Man United aren't doing well. And by that, I mean, I was just raised in Birmingham, surrounded by Man United fans inexplicably. So, who were unbelievable during my childhood, easily the best team for 10 years. So, when I get an inkling that Man U aren't going to do well, I'm always looking for that information. So when I see it, I grab it. I don't scrutinize it. I
You
grab
double
it and
down.
think. I double down and I believe it without really digging deep at whether it's true. So that was behind my refusal to get Ronaldo, and I think I was right despite the bias. I was lucky in that I will gradually be proved right in that he isn't worth what they priced him as, and he's not the savior of Man U this year. I mean, they had a very easy run when he came in. They had some very easy fixtures, and rightly so, he smashed it in. But now they look tepid. You've got your Vardy, you've got Kane, Antonio as well in those other spots. I think it's viable to play two up top now because there aren't as many viable striker options as there were maybe 5 weeks ago, and there's some good-looking midfielders. And as you say with Lukaku, the fixtures and the noises coming out makes him sound viable. I mean, he has been unlucky in the last few games, but Lukaku's had a couple of disallowed goals. I mean, I'm saying, look, he's missed a couple of sitters that he shouldn't have missed. And say Man U had good fixtures coming up, would you be looking at Ronaldo? Say the fixtures were flipped between Chelsea and United, would your opinion flip? Is it purely based on the fixtures?
Partially, I think what Lukaku has going for him is Chelsea are maybe a better team. But what Ronaldo would have going for him is that United are an out and out attacking team. So if they had, bottom of the table teams for the next 4 or 5 that they were just gonna outright attack, gung ho attack, then yeah, you'd expect Ronaldo to come out with returns. But looking at their fixtures for United, this is Liverpool, Spurs, City, Watford, Chelsea. With a team that are struggling a little bit already, yeah, maybe these fixtures will rally them, but you've got to say that that's the less likely of the options. The options are they're coming up against very good, talented, and probably well-drilled teams compared to them. They're probably not going to get results in any of those, Liverpool, City, or Chelsea games. So they're not going to get the chances. So I can't see, high Ronaldo returns. Whereas the Chelsea games, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley, Leicester, United. Even the United is the hardest one. Well, actually, arguably, Leicester's the hardest game.
Definitely,
So,
yeah.
but you can see Lukaku bullying like Norwich, Newcastle, and Burnley.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? You would hope so. Yeah, you'd just be silly to sell Lukaku ahead of Norwich. Like, it's just a no. You just don't do it. There's no other forward that's more appetizing currently than that matchup, that fixture and player matchup is there. So yeah, I think we're in agreement, Josh. There's no debate here. We're just violently agreeing on the same thing. So,
but despite that we're in agreement, I think a lot of people are still thinking about this, even though we're quite happy to say keep Lukaku. There's a little voice in the back of the brain saying Ronaldo probably still might return in one of those 5, for example. Vardy will probably return as well.
Yeah,
And
Kane could as well.
Kane's in the mix as well. So but I think most people want either Ronaldo or Lukaku in their team because they're the big premiums for those big teams. And I think Lukaku, because of those fixtures, is just about held on to it in my mind.
Yeah. Would you, to round this debate off, who would be, if you're playing a 3 up top, who would be if you're wildcarding today, who would be your 3 forwards you'd pick?
Considering price as well, I'd have to, if I wanted just the best and the rest of the team took a bit of a sacrifice, I'd pick Lukaku. Vardy, and Antonio.
Mm.
Before this weekend, Jimenez was in the mix, but obviously being dropped. It's probably
that's
just time after the international break, but it affects his form. Like, he was in a rich vein of form, and you say maybe not playing just adds a little bit of doubt. But at the moment, it's those three for me. Any different three for you, or is?
Yeah, I do like Tony. I do like Tony in there, but you're right. If price sort of wasn't an issue and I was just going with one premium mid in Salah, it probably would be Vardy over Tony. But I've just got a feeling Tony is just such good value that he's the next of the four, I think. So yeah, you're right. Antonio, Lukaku, and a Tony or a Vardy, depending on your team, would be. Yeah, I think of Ronaldo, it's just Man United are so bad that you can't. It won't be, and again, Champions League this week, there's nothing to say he won't be benched again afterwards like he was last time. So you haven't even got the guarantee of the start for Ronaldo.
Yeah. And this is just for these next few fixtures. I mean, after United have come through that hard run, maybe they actually play better than we expect them to or think they're going to, and he becomes a viable option again. But at the moment,
yeah, it's quite Ole-esque, wouldn't it, to beat Liverpool now after all this
hold on to that job for a few more weeks.
He has made a weird career of seeming to do that, getting these big moments and that Man United team does get up for the big game, it feels like. So you never know. But using cold, hard logic and data, I think it's avoid Ronaldo, keep holding on to Lukaku is our drawing a line under that, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So that's that section done, Josh. So we're going to move on now. We have been doing fixture predictions, haven't we? So we've gone through all the fixtures, chatted a little bit about them, and given our predictions for them. We decided this week that's a bit much. It's been we waffle on a bit too long. So what we're going to do instead this week is pick the key fixtures that we think are the most pertinent to fantasy points and fantasy considerations, which I think is better, isn't it? It should make more valuable use of your precious time, the listener, because we want to respect your time. We want to respect you. You got things to do. You got moves to make. So let's crack on. So we've picked. I mean, I say we're picking the key fixtures. We've picked 6 of the 10. So we haven't whittled it down too much. This week. 10 big fixtures this week. We're going through them all. No, we'll pick the 6, but we won't dwell on ones that are perhaps more cut and dry or weighted. Josh, what's the first key fixture this week?
We've kind of hinted at it, but it's Chelsea versus Norwich.
Good.
What are you thinking here?
Key consideration, Josh, I think with this fixture is which Norwich player do you captain? No, it's do you captain Lukaku or not? I think is the big fantasy question surrounding this fixture. It's the early kickoff. Do we care? I don't care about that. Do you care? Some people
didn't make a difference this week, did it?
Does it? I understand the psychological, my captain, if he blanks, then I've got a shit weekend ahead of me, But I mean, I feel like if your captain's playing in the last fixture, you've got an anxious weekend until that game, and then bitter disappointment if he blanks anyway. So I think that's a bit of a false impression people get. I certainly never care about it. But anyway, would you captain Lukaku, Josh?
Yeah, dare I say it, I'm considering breaking our stick to what you know, trust in Mo. I'm 50-50 between Lukaku.
I knew this would expire 2 weeks later.
I
2 weeks ago, like, yeah, you know what? That's it. Just there. He scored past City. Let's forget it.
Yeah. But I think what happens in this situation, the whole reason it's the stick to what you know is if there is any doubt, you just go back to Mo. So despite my mind wandering towards Lukaku, looking at that lovely Lukaku fixture, I think, reason will prevail and will turn my head back round to before the game weekend. But I've got to say, it is looking, maybe I'm hyping it too much because Lukaku has blanked in 3, but I don't care that Norwich are now playing, 3 at the back and they're trying to play more defensively and build on the break and stuff. I think they're going to get battered. So I think it's going to be goals there. It's just who's going to come up with them. That's the big question.
Chilwell hat-trick, done.
Of course,
that's the way it's going. I think if Lukaku had been scoring a goal a game in the last 4, then it would be harder for me. But I just think it's obviously form over fixture between Salah and him. But it's. I mean, I'll say it again. Man U isn't a hard fixture. It's not.
No.
If Liverpool were playing City, or even like a Leicester or a notoriously tricky team, it would be harder. But I think Liverpool are going to go for the jugular against United, and yeah, I'm not. Lukaku isn't firing. It's a fact, is it? I think if you captain Lukaku now and he blanked, and Salah did something, you'd look back and think, why what was I doing? Whereas I think if you stick with Salah, and yes, Lukaku hauls and Salah doesn't, you can be like, well, the decision was the right one based on the info I had.
Yeah.
That's the balance there. But yeah, if you don't have Salah, captain Lukaku by all means. Yeah. But you've got a bigger problem if you don't have Salah, I think. So.
Yeah, and then obviously it's play your Chelsea defensive assets because you're not expecting Norwich to score at all, and then you just play all your Chelsea assets basically. But then next up on our fixture focus is Leeds at home to Wolves. Jack, who are you liking for this one?
Rafinha's back in, so that's good for Leeds. They did look pretty bad though, didn't they? At the weekend, they're not having a good season. Have they won a game yet? I don't think they've won a game. So they're not looking like the Leeds of last year at all. Of course, they've got big injuries.
Oh, sorry, they have won one game.
Oh, have they? My bad. In that case, yeah, captain. But it's Wolves. I mean, what a result for them against Villa. They'll be so buoyed by that Wolves. I mean, that is a massive win for them, really, against a rival away. I'm not convinced that Leeds are going to get goals as much as they used to. I don't think you'd be remiss playing your Wolves defenders here. And yeah, I think Wolves are going to win it. And I'm not feeling amazing about having Rafinha now when I used to. What do you think?
I also think Wolves are going to do it. It's just the momentum is strongly with them. Even with Leeds at home, I just feel like their team is just so unbalanced at the moment. I think their game plan is, they have one game plan, don't they? And the players know it very well. The manager knows it very well, and it's worked consistently. It's broken at the moment, and unfortunately, they don't really have a plan B. Because the plan A works so well for them. And I think Wolves are building up a head of steam. And Jimenez to probably come back into the starting lineup again. They're starting to look now like they've got options in their players. Form players maybe going to the bench and stuff. It just makes a massive difference, doesn't it? I think Wolves are going to be too much for them. So, and I think, as you said, dare we say it, Leeds are going to struggle to score. So it's, like your Wolves assets and play your Wolves defensive assets if you've got them.
Yeah, I mean, Rafinha is bloody good, isn't he? He's smashed it for Brazil. He'll be full of confidence. He could easily get a goal. I think definitely play him. Definitely play Rafinha if you've got him, because Wolves aren't like amazing defensively, really. But yeah, Leeds generally, I'd be worried. Certainly about their defensive assets. Get rid of them as soon as you can. I think that just about squeaked in as a key fixture, didn't it, Leeds?
Yeah, just because of ownership, isn't it? A lot of people own their assets.
Yeah, let's be real.
The third one, Brighton at home to Man City.
Yeah, Brighton, one of the stars of the season so far, but I'm not feeling good having Sanchez and Duffy in my defence.
Just about to ask you that. How happy are you feeling?
Duffy's going to be benched for me, and I think if you've got Sanchez, you're probably like me. You're playing a set and forget. You just have to accept these fixtures when they happen, and it means save points can happen. It means a clean sheet's a remote possibility and a massive bonus if you can get it. And Brighton, though, as good as they are defensively, I'm still not convinced on their attacking assets. What do you think?
Yeah, that's where they may bring pressure on themselves, isn't it? Because despite their defense being so good, if you don't put a team away in the Premier League, they're going to come back at you. Like, they could be a team could be terrible for 75, 80 minutes, but push it the last 10. So I think they don't have the attack, their Molpes and Trossards, they're just not good enough to put away teams despite that strong defensive foundation. So I think they shouldn't trouble City too much which means it's going to be one-way traffic. So that so much pressure is going to be on that right.
Are you feeling good about your City defenders then?
Well, am I? Like, did Diaz being benched? Like, I think that's obviously off the back of the international break, but
No one's immune, are they? No one's
no,
immune.
I feel happy with my choices with those City defenders. I've got Diaz and Cancelo, so I think they're the most likely to start going into this game unless something happens midweek. So I'll be playing and starting both of them.
I think you've got the right ones there. We haven't mentioned De Bruyne yet, and he's now seems to be back in the frame. Are we sort of, because he's a bit of a nuisance to consider, are we willfully ignoring him, or should he be on our radars?
It's got to be a wait and see again, isn't it? Like, despite him being so good, we haven't seen enough games of him this year. And whilst he's still coming back in, that's even more risk rotation in Pep's team, right? So I think they've got so much cover. They don't, if he has any doubt coming into the game or a niggle or anything, it doesn't have to start. So a bit too soon to look at De Bruyne. What do you think?
Yeah, I just feel great not having a City player on my team, regardless of who they are. It just feels nice. I had Torres for too long. It was a headache. It got me nothing. No idea if he was starting or benched. There was no rhyme or reason to the logic behind it. Suddenly now Jack Grealish is benched after starting every game. No one is safe, and I don't think De Bruyne is safe either. You don't even know if they're going to bloody start. Cancelo, I think, has the potential to be the next Trent, I would say, in the game. I think he's so attacking, talented, part of a great defence. I think he's brilliant. He'll be on my radar to get if I was going to get any City player. But yeah, this fixture, I think, Brighton's defence is good, and a 0-0 wouldn't surprise me. Low scoring game. So I wouldn't captain a City asset here.
Good for defences.
Yeah, I'd say so. Brentford versus Leicester, Josh.
We should be saying Leicester, off the back of the Vardy form, but Brentford, my God, especially at home, I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford get a win here.
I agree. I think Brentford are going to win.
It feels strange saying it, but I think Leicester, they haven't proven themselves quite to find the form that they have in the last couple of years or whatever. The defense is still taking shape, isn't it? They're still playing Soyuncu next to Evans. Fofana still injured. So I feel like they haven't got their first 11 yet, which scuppered them a little bit in the beginning of the season, didn't it? But I feel like the team are really starting to gel in the last few, and they're getting better and better and better. But I still think Brentford are just so good.
Yeah, I think attacking wise, Leicester are looking really good. But anyone can score against that Man United defence. So it's not
true.
I'm not that impressed by that particular game. Vardy, brilliant. Iheanacho, brilliant. But yeah, Brentford, they're going to score in this game, I think. Definitely play your Tonys, your Buemos. And Schmeichel's fairly popular. I'd be very surprised if Leicester kept a clean sheet here.
I mean, we are just coming off the back of a 1-0 loss to Chelsea at home for Brentford, but the XG for that game tells a different story, doesn't it?
Massively different here. 0.2 for Chelsea, was it? And then 1.8 for something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1.6 for Brentford. As you said, 0.25 for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea got away with one there, big time.
They did. Your goalkeeper's still part of your team, isn't it? So they played well in that they have an amazing goalie, Chelsea.
Brentford. So what are you thinking in terms of assets? I mean, is anyone doubled up or maybe even tripled up on Brentford because of price already? Would you play all three in this game?
100%, no doubt. There aren't many fixtures I wouldn't play them all in. Certainly the attacking assets, yeah. If you've got a defender, then I think they're still in the bracket of an enabler, a budget defender that you're very pleased when they get a clean sheet type of defender, really, But yeah,
but with their set pieces as well.
Yeah, Pinnock. I mean, just Pinnock takes the throws, doesn't he?
The long throws, yeah.
Yeah. So
but he's been out. So
I think Buemo and Tony are the big ones. Norgard. I mean, we mentioned Norgard way back at the start of the podcast that we started it. I mean, he is good. I mean, that overhead kick was incredible. Really, and could have gone in. I think there's a lot of assets here that you can look at. But yeah, Buemo and Tony are the ones that seem to be the main men for me that I would start. What do you reckon?
Agree. Yeah, would be looking at that Brentford attack and thinking they're going to get something out of that game. Nice. So our fifth fixture in our focus is Man United at home to Liverpool.
Yeah, small game, relegation battle. This
Tiny game, two tiny
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah, Josh, give me your thoughts, Liverpool fan.
Dare I say it, I'm not the kind of fan that likes to be confident going into big games. I think United will try and come out strong in this game, especially at home. But I think Liverpool's form at the moment they're going to beat them. So Liverpool win. I think it will be fractious and furious paced at the beginning, but I just think Liverpool as a team at the moment are playing much better than Man United. So I can see goals in that game for sure, because Liverpool's defense hasn't looked great, but Liverpool are the team with the highest XG in the league. So I think it's going to be goals for the Liverpool attack.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I 100% agree. I would be shocked if United got anything from this game. Absolutely. This is apart from Chelsea Norwich, this is the next lock of the week, I think, of Liverpool winning this. There's no I'd be surprised. I'm going to captain Salah. I'm not even nervous about that decision. I'm not kind of second guessing that decision in my head. It's going to be a Salah captaincy. I think he'll tear apart. Luke Shaw's having a bad season, frankly. He's probably the worst, considering how many people picked him at the start of the season. He's probably the worst, the most disappointing asset of the season, I would say, Luke Shaw, so far. And I think Maguire's rubbish. He's gone back to being rubbish for United. No Varane. Is Varane still out?
He hasn't played the last couple for sure, is he? So I'm not sure what.
But yeah,
how long he's out
will he
for.
be out for this game? If he is, then that's massive bad news for them. Wan-Bissaka, I think, is very limited, and yeah, De Gea has been keeping the scorelines down for them. He's having a really good year. So if they play McFred, the McFred combo, that is a better midfield combo than Pogba and Matic, no doubt about it. But I think Ole struggles with the idea of having to bench 2 or 3 of those attacking superstars that he's got, especially with Rashford back now. He's got real headaches. So
yeah, they just hang their defense out to dry, don't they? They just basically leave them.
Yeah,
But
the analysis on match today just showed it. It just showed that you can just pass through that front line so easily. They all just stand. If they don't have the ball, they all just stand still and just hope the defense deal with it. It's
like the top 6 players on their pitch. If you get wrong side of them, you're gone. They're never.
Yeah, you'll get a chance. You have a chance to score, basically. Yeah. So yeah, I think play and captain your Liverpool assets. I'd be looking to bring in Liverpool assets now. So I'm looking to, spoiler alert, but I'm looking to bring in a Mane for a Jota.
Ooh, nice. Good spoiler. I like that. Didn't know that was coming.
Would you bench if you had a Luke Shaw, Josh? Would you bench them for this?
Yeah, I really would. If you have anyone decent on your bench to play in place, I think from what we've seen, United aren't the best at the back, and they're playing the highest scoring team with the highest XG in the league. And at the moment, their attackers are just on form. I'd be very surprised if they keep a clean sheet. Let's put it that way.
No doubt. Final key fixture, Josh. We've got West Ham versus Tottenham. London derby. I think quite a tough one to call, perhaps, this one. What do you think?
Really tough. I think neither of the teams are complete. They're both very good, but they're not complete teams, are they, at the moment? So West Ham have been very good, especially early in the season going forward. Bit vulnerable at the back and go to sleep at some points in games as well. So they have portions of the game where they're really good. That was the same against Everton. First 20 minutes blew them out of the water. You thought this could be an absolute steal of a game for West Ham. They're going to score loads, and then they just go off the boil. The same could be said of Spurs, maybe. You know, the team's there, the players are there, and they play great in pockets of the game, but other parts or other whole games or portions of games, they just go to sleep and they get turned over. So you don't know which team is going to take the dominance in this particular fixture. So I'd say it could be a draw. I have no way to call which team is going to come out on top. Which assets are is Kane going to show up, or is Antonio going to show up? Like, whose day is it going to be, Jack? Who do you think?
I agree with you in it's hard to call. I think on an individual player basis, it's very hard to call. Like, will Kane shine? Will Antonio shine? Would Son do something? Will Benrahma do something? But I still think West Ham are the better team at the moment than Spurs. and on the whole are having a better season. There were times Newcastle picked Spurs apart still, and they were inches away from, they kind of created quite a few half chances, I would say. Hopeless defensively, which is why they conceded, but attacking wise, Newcastle got at Spurs. And I think West Ham's attack is much better than Newcastle's. So I think, and their defense is obviously better than Newcastle's. So I think if I had to pick a winner, it would be West Ham. Having Reguilon, I'm not convinced with him. I don't like owning him because I'm not confident of their clean sheet potential. And he's not quite attacking enough, Reguilon, for me. He does attack and he does cross. He obviously got an assist, but I don't know what it is. Doesn't have that Chilwell, Trent, Cancelo, ridiculous fullback nature about him that some of them do. Spurs assets just aren't doing it for me at the moment. And yeah, the Kane and Sons are in the wait and see, as we've said. So
okay, great. That's all six key fixtures for this week.
right, forget the other four. Just don't need to know about the other four.
No.
Not interested.
These are the focus fixtures.
That's right.
But yeah, so we're done with our middle section. Let's take another little break, and then we're going to come back with our plans and the algo teams.
Happy days.
Lovely. See you in a sec. And we are back. So, Jack, this is the meaty bit, the nice bit where we get to talk about what we're thinking for the next game week. We're talking about our plans, potential transfer plans, captaincy ideas. What are you thinking? What is in your mind?
Yeah, so I've done a rare thing that I don't normally do, and I've planned out some transfers for the next 3 weeks that, all being well, which it obviously won't be, I would look to make. So I've planned this week's one, then having done that, the following one, and the following one. So ideally, Josh, in an ideal world, this week I will do Jota to Mane. So I want a piece of that Mane pie now. Like, he's done enough for me over the last few weeks to convince me that he's back amongst the goals now. He's not Salah levels, but I do think amongst the premiums, he's the best. He's the next best option, really, after Lukaku and Salah. And the fact that he's like 3-4% owned just makes it a bit too irresistible to me. And I've been sitting, Josh, with about 4.5 mil in the bank for about 4 weeks. So I just want to get that off my back. And Jota, now he's not guaranteed to start. Jota to Mane just seems a logical move there to me. But I still really want Tony in for my stupid Dennis. So after doing that, I'd have to go Reguilon down to a 4.0, and then I'll be able to upgrade Dennis to a Tony. So those are mine then. And then I'm feeling very nice with my team. So transfer-wise, Jota to Mane. I'll wait for the Champions League to done. I advise everyone to wait for Champions League. But yeah, Jota to Mane. Watch Salah and Mane tear Man United apart on Sunday over a nice roast dinner. Look really forward to it.
Nice.
And then, as I've said, Salah captaincy. And Rafinha will come back in. I'll bench Duffy against City. Rafinha in for him. Salah captain. Happy as Larry. That's me done. What do you think of that?
Good. I mean, you put a lot of thought into it. I can tell. You came prepared.
I've written it down in my notes. I've written it. So makes a change.
But just to focus on I know you've got a plan over the next few game weeks, but step one of your plan, bringing in Mane, you said it right. You can see goals being scored in that fixture, and long term as well. Highest scoring team, both Salah and Mane seem to be doing very, very well. So I don't think many people can poke holes in that, and I'm not going to. So you go.
Thanks. Good. Thanks very much. When it goes wrong, I blame you. Cheers.
Cheers.
What are you thinking, Josh? You didn't sound very happy with the week just gone. Any fires to put out?
The biggest fire is the Spanish fire, that is Marcos Alonso. So
Fuego. Oh no, Fuente. Yeah, Fuego. Sorry,
Fuego. So annoyingly, it's a great fixture, but with Chilwell doing so well, I feel like Alonso is now locked to the bench. So that seems like the biggest fire to put out. But I may just sit on my hands for the week, because my bench at the moment is, Douglas Luiz away to Arsenal. I've also got Sarr away to Everton. Everton, look very good in defence. Watford not looking very good, so I'm not confident in him getting anything. And then a Duffy, same as you. So Duffy in the third spot. So it means that Alonso in the starting lineup with Douglas Luiz coming on if he doesn't play, because I don't expect Douglas Luiz to get many points, so I can maybe risk a 1-pointer if he comes off the bench, Alonso. Because if he does magically get a start, Chilwell plays midweek in the Champions League, 90 minutes against Norwich at home for Alonso.
It's worth the risk, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, just for one game week. But long term, I really need to solve that problem because I can't afford to have worries about Alonso and Cancelo, for example, in defence week in, week out. One of them needs to be nailed. Rudiger would have solved that. I did have Rudiger, but I had to get him out for Duffy this week because of all the uncertainty of the players. So if Rudiger's back long term, I'll probably look to switch Alonso to Rudiger or Alonso to Trent.
I was going to say Trent. Yeah, you are missing Trent still, and you've got that 2.5 in the bank. Yeah, Alonso to Trent seems like a good move. But yeah, I agree with you. If I were you, I'd do the same. I think I'd put Alonso in there just if him against Norwich is a frightening thought. He could absolutely destroy them, couldn't he? So I don't think he will play, but the chance he will is big enough that it's worth playing him.
I'm holding into that tiny, tiny hope. The luxury move for me, if I didn't have to put that Alonso fire out, or if I just stayed with that fire burning in the flame myself, my skin searing,
sure,
I'd probably switch Sarr to Mbeumo.
Yeah,
but I'm happy to wait a week for that after the Leicester game.
Well, did you say you play Sarr over? You played Douglas Luiz over Sarr?
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't do that, man.
I just don't have any confidence that Watford are going to do anything against Everton. They look so good in defence.
I would really play Sarr, Joshy boy. Douglas Luiz is, at least there's a chance with Sarr. Douglas Luiz has a 0 chance of any returns ever. Honestly, he's nowhere.
He's had some returns. He's had a couple of assists.
Has he? I should know that as a Villa fan, but I mean, he's nowhere like Sarr. You've got the talisman at least, I would say.
Yeah.
And Everton can be got at. I don't know. I think
ironically, Douglas Luiz got an assist against Everton.
Did he? It just proves that even he can get a return against him. So Sarr definitely can.
Good point. What am I doing? I'm going to switch that now.
I don't know. I would put if I were you, I'd put Sarr, but that's as a jaded Villa fan. So
you make a valid point. But make a valid. But that's bench numbering. But yeah, bottom line, that's the idea.
A role, a rare role of a transfer. It's good.
You've said it. Salah, probably.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it, if our resolute nature holds, whether we stick with Salah.
Last minute Lukaku differential.
I can see it. I know I can see myself doing it, even though I know I shouldn't. But yeah, itchy trigger finger. But yeah, sounds good, Josh. Sounds good. So
that's transfer plans and captaincies. I get to introduce you now for the algo teams.
Great.
Our boys, Jack. I want to hear how they're doing. You've already mentioned the XGs. How did they do?
That's right, our boys. So they've still got. So again, this is the algorithm teams. So I should mention a good friend of mine who professes to listen every week texted me the other day saying, "Jack, I was just in the gym this morning, and I just thought a great feature of the podcast would be if you did like a differential team where the players under 8% owned were just the players picked." I was like, dude, you listen to if you do listen to the end, you'll hear that we do exactly this.
The differential 11
every week and how they're doing. Differential 11. But thanks. It's good to know that's what the people want, even though they're not listening to it.
Yeah,
when we're giving it to them.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So that's right. So as I mentioned, the algorithm teams, we've got the XG11. So the 11 picked purely on the XG data. So they were forced to make the move last week of Lukaku out, who wasn't doing well in the XG, and Jamie Vardy in. And of course, that went really well. Vardy scored, Lukaku did not. Algorithm succeeded. The disappointing thing was Antonio was the captain of the XG11 this week because he's the highest for XG, who obviously got the 1-pointer. So that did hamper the XG's overall score. They're currently sitting on 49 points with Gallagher to play. Conor Gallagher to play tonight. So potential returns there from Conor. But overall, it's a red arrow. It's a red arrow down to about 2.3 mil for the XG11. So after a really strong start to the season, the XG11 is tampering off a little bit.
Tailing off.
Yeah, so a bit disappointing for them. Differential United had a couple of excellent weeks. So the last couple of weeks, Mane has been the differential captain so far. And again, 8 points this week for 16 points. An excellent result for differential 11. But overall, they've not done too well. They're on 34 points for the week. So Meslier in goal isn't going very well. Veltman, the disaster that was Veltman, coming off on 58 minutes for a 0-pointer for Brighton.
dear.
Absolute nightmare. Semedo came in this week for Alonso for the differential 11. So still under 5% owned, Semedo, but got the 1-pointer against Villa, who scored 2. Matt Lowton with a 1-pointer, not that good. Fornals, the West Ham differential, 2 points. Bowen, the other one. Jared Bowen's actually racking up the points, Josh. I don't know if we've mentioned him for a while, but he's doing really well. 6 points. But Decore, Jimenez, and St. Max not doing so well. They do have Aubameyang left to play. Potential for goals tonight against Palace to bring up that score. But as it stands, 34 points. Not looking too good at 5.2 mil in the world for the differential 11.
Oh dear.
So far it's showing that jumping on bandwagons and picking the template picks is the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, this was a template week, wasn't it? A lot of the point scorers were a lot of those template picks, but the last 2 weeks were differential weeks, weren't they? So
that's why they did so well.
Crazy. Good insight. Love it.
There we are. So that about wraps up this week's pod, I think, Josh.
Does indeed.
Yeah, please subscribe on YouTube if you're, well, whatever you're listening to. If you're listening on Spotify, just go to YouTube, subscribe. Why not? Mix it up.
That helps out.
Let us know what your moves are this week, what you think we've got wrong. Should we hold Ronaldo? Are we wrong in saying that? Is St. Maximin actually a brilliant buy? You know, are Man U going to beat Liverpool this week? Maybe I'm wrong in my confidence.
Should we captain a Norwich asset? I mean, tell us why.
Triple cap. Let's
there you go. Great. Well, yeah, good luck, I guess, to everyone, and speak to you next week.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
Bye.